Welcome to this week's edition of World Crisis Radio. This is Webster Tarpley speaking to you from Washington, D.C. I want to thank all of the contributors who have made our translation pages possible. There are a couple more coming, French and possibly Urdu for Pakistan still in the pipeline. Bear with us. It was a big effort, but take a look at tarpley.net, and you will see we're getting up to 12 or 13 languages, and ultimately we should reach about 15. So at least the basic facts of the destabilization of Libya and other Arab states will be available to the world. Now, this week we do have big news in the international sphere. Prince Bandar of Saudi Arabia goes to Pakistan and arranges, it looks like, for Pakistani military help, possibly a division of troops, which used to be stationed in Saudi Arabia, against the U.S. to prevent the destruction of Saudi Arabia by the CIA. Bandar turns to Pakistan, which of course includes nuclear weapons. So you might say that Saudi Arabia is now coming under the Pakistani nuclear umbrella. As long as we had these different countries striving to leave the empire, looking to Russia, China, and others, this was one thing. But now we actually have an alliance between two current victims of the empire, hoping to be ex-victims of the empire, striving towards Russia, China, but striving also for themselves. But we'll talk about this in the second hour. What we need to pay attention to right now is the world economic situation, and it's focusing on the tragic situation here in Washington, D.C., where we have the usual battle of the Wall Street Democrats led by Obama, the sellouts, the treacherous merchants of deceit and austerity, and the Republican reactionaries. And they're all austerity ghouls. All of a sudden, again, Washington filled with little Brunings, little ghouls, little vampires running around. The entire elite is gripped by the austerity psychosis, what we saw previously in Weimar, Germany. Then it was called Abbauwahn, austerity psychosis. It is economic suicide for any country that falls victims to it. That is what we now have here. We now have Obama's speech last Wednesday on budget philosophy, if we dare say this. Too bad for philosophy, but his approach to philosophy, maybe. And the first stage of the implementation is a fiscal year 2011 budget now passed by House and Senate and signed into law by Obama. The result of these rotten compromises, these tragic sellouts of the American people, will be a deeper depression. The depression in this country will continue to increase. We will have more unemployment. And ironically, given the obsession with deficits, we will have bigger deficits. The experience historically from Bruning in 1930 to 32 to Schwarzenegger only yesterday. When you cut the budget in a depression, you get bigger deficits. That's the insanity of the entire thing. Where are the historians? What happened to economic history? Jobs, of course, completely left out. The debate in Washington can be compared to, I guess, a debate between a guy an axe murderer and somebody who prefers to use a stiletto. The debate is, how do you flay the American people alive? How do you skin them alive? Well, the Republicans say, why? We use a hatchet. Others, the Tea Parties, say, we use a machete. The Democrats say, no, we use a scalpel. And ultimately, they'll compromise on something like a steak knife or a paring knife, and flay the American people alive with their bankrupt, elitist, monetarist, Malthusian approaches. Remember, all of these philosophies come out of the British East India Company, Sirsa, 1810, 1820, Malthus on the one side at Haileybury, and Ricardo, the founder of monetarism, on the board. Now, let's look, first of all, at the 2011 budget. This is a piece of unspeakable villainy, and of course, it's the compromise masterminded by Obama with House Speaker Boehner and Harry Reid, Dingy Harry, I guess he is, from Nevada, for the Senate majority of Democrats. What does this cut? Well, first of all, it cuts a whole series of measures that we can assign to the social safety net. Let's cut, according to this budget, the U.S. will cut payments for child health, payments for the welfare of crime victims, the Head Start program. This provides breakfasts and a preschool for poor children so that they don't get their brains stunted from malnutrition and they do get a certain amount of academic preparation. The WIC program is cut. Women, infants, children. These are high-protein meals for expectant mothers and for mothers and newborns, breastfeeding mothers and so forth. Again, trying to avoid the damage of malnutrition in infancy and what that does to brain development and so forth. But the Republicans don't care. Obama doesn't care either. So we're cutting child health. We're cutting crime victims assistance. We're cutting police. We're cutting Head Start. We're cutting WIC, cutting community health programs, and we are cutting community block grants, which is a kind of way to keep some certain communities above water. We're also cutting on the purely productive side, where the job creation would come, as distinct from keeping your people alive. You need to do both. They're cutting the highway fund. They're cutting a program for the modernization and rebuilding of federal buildings. $1 billion of construction jobs are gone. And the most tragic of all, maybe the symbolic cut of all cuts, $3 billion cut out of fast rail. Without a fast rail system, any country is an antique. It's a museum piece. It's going to be ethnographic material. We know the Republican governors have taken the lead. The fascist Christie of New Jersey, Scott of Florida, Walker of Wisconsin, Kasich of Ohio, all opposed to fast rail. Now Obama caves in and cuts $3 billion from one of his signature programs of Sputnik. Was that what he called it? The Neo-Sputnik. And the Environmental Protection Agency, minus $1.6 billion. Now, a lot of these people are environmental kooks, but let's also be clear, a lot of what the EPA does have to do with things like keeping lead and mercury out of foods. So this has a useful social function in any case. My back-of-the-envelope calculation is that this immediately destroys 560,000 federal jobs and federal contractor jobs. So more than 500,000 jobs destroyed immediately, and the multiplier effect will be seen in the form of the loss of millions of jobs just based on this short-term rotten compromise to get from April to the end of September. We will have more unemployment. And my diagnosis is this. We will have riots. We will have riots this summer. You've seen it in Greece, in France, in Britain, anywhere where people still have some spirit and some self-respect. The result of this will be riots. So we had under Bush, Mad Dog Bush the Elder, we had the Los Angeles riot. We haven't had any big riots. We'll have to look into the record on that. But we will now get back to an era of large-scale riots, and you can thank Obama and the Wall Street Democrats who voted for this, and you can also thank the reactionary Republicans. The way in which this was passed is very ominous. Obama now does not have the support of the House Democrats. If this were a parliamentary system, and if this measure had been proposed as an issue of confidence, that is, voting against it would be the equivalent of a vote of no confidence in Obama, Obama would have fallen this past week. The measure, this rotten compromise, passed by a vote of 260 to 167. There were 59 Republicans voting no. Most of these are ultra-reactionary Tea Party fanatics, along with some liberal Republicans. But the big news, 108 Democrats vote against Obama, and includes Pelosi, the former Speaker, President Minority Leader, vote against Obama. We'll be back in a minute.